Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Aerial Assault review. This time we'll be covering some of the Inzektor cards, some of the generic Synchro support we got, and some other bits and pieces that I want to cover that I didn't cover in my Blackwings video. I've made a separate video solely dedicated to all the Blackwing cards, so if you haven't gone and seen that, check it out on my channel, or I'll maybe post a link to it in the description. But with that out of the way, let's get stuck into it. So let's start off with Robe, the Rock Vassal. If this card is in your hand, target a face-up monster controls. You cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, but that's fine, because this is a Monarch card. And if you do, change that monster to face-down defense position. So it's a nice Canadio effect on special summon. And if it's tribute summon, you can target a monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense in your graveyard. Add it to your hand. So that's really good, because a lot of these cards with that stat line specifically are used in Monarchs and have a lot of their own special summon abilities. And this one is particularly good because, as I say, it's a Canadia on summon. So, will it make Monarchs great again? Probably not. Got you there, didn't I? Probably not. It's just, it is a really good Monarch card, but I don't think it's enough to put Monarchs on the map. So let's move on to what some people are very excited for, the Inzektors. So we got a couple of cards that I think are worth noting. Hornet, obviously. Once per turn you can equip an Inzektor monster from your hand or graveyard to this card. While this card is equipped to a monster. While this card is equipped to a monster, not equipped with a monster, that monster's level is increased by 3. Also, it gains attack and defense equal to this card's attack and defense. While this card is equipped to a monster, you can send this equipped card to the graveyard to target one card on the field and destroy that target. So, it's a good effect. It's what you want. You want some kind of way for Inzektors to destroy other things on the field. That's kind of what it needs. You could argue that destruction in this meta is a little bit if you want to target, it's any card, correct? One card on the field, destroy it. If you target a back row and they chain it, it's not as strong. If you target a monster that has protection, that's obviously not good. So it has some uses though. It might make Inzektors be experimented with for sure. I don't think again that it's going to be super amazing. But another thing that I have a really bad copy of a card of on the board, Zeta Hawk, I got quite excited for. It's, you equip it to an Inzektor, it gains 1000 attack, which is quite a big boost, and on attack declaration, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards. So, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's when you declare an attack, though, it doesn't completely shut them off. Say if there's something that can activate in the damage step, that will still be able to be activated because this only shuts off things on attack declaration. So there are still some things to get around this, but it's a really good way of dealing with back row in an archetype that kind of doesn't really have it right now. So we're kind of burning through these, but I think it's fine. There's a bunch of Synchro support in this box. A lot of it is generic. We have Bionic Dragon of the Ice Barrier, which is you can discard any number of cards to return the same number of cards from the field to the hand. So again, it probably does target, but it's any number of cards. It's not a specific amount, so you don't need to have a certain amount in your hand to activate this effect. And it's a return to hand. It's not a destruction, so it gets around destruction protection and things like that. Just not targeting protection, obviously, but there are definitely some archetypes that would want to use this, you know. Fables love to discard their own cards. Mermails love to discard cards as well to pop off some of their effects. So, really good bit of generic support, I think. It's only 6 stars, which wouldn't be that hard to achieve. Super good. We have Darkened Dragon. Once per turn, you can have this card lose 500 attack and defense. Send one monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. We all know how huge Desire is, right? Everyone loves Desire. Every single Dark Lord deck runs Desire. This is admittedly a Synchro, which could be more difficult to get out, but its attack and defense loss is less. So, pretty good. Like, Desire would go to 2000 attack. This doesn't quite get there, but it's a Desire, it's a generic Desire for any archetype that can make a level 8 dragon. And it has that non-tuner dark, so I don't think it can actually be used in Blue Eyes, because it itself is 8 stars. And Blue Eyes tends to synchro off into like 5s or 9s. But I'd be interested to see what archetypes can make use of this, because it's sending to the grave, not destroying, but sending something to the grave is a really nice way of removing things. So I'm excited to see how people use that one. Now, some people are excited for Jet Synchron. I'm not super excited. I decided to give it the benefit of the doubt and put it in a video, but I'm not as keen as some other people seem to be. If this card is sent to the graveyard as single material, you can add one junk monster from your deck to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to your graveyard, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use one Jet Synchron effect once per turn, and only once that turn. So, I can see this being used to synchro, to do like multiple synchros in one turn. Obviously, you synchro off and you get it back, so then you can go into one level higher again. I don't know how impactful that's going to be. You can do it very quickly. It'll all depend on what synchros you want to go into with this. It does give you a junk search from the deck, but you've got to be running those certain junk cards to make full effect of this card. You've got to discard the special summon, that's not bad. Banish from the field, that's not bad. Maybe max use of this will be like with level dupe, because you've got to find something to synchro off with it initially. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Like, what do you go into it first? And then from there you can make your decisions. Maybe you just do a 4-star in this, so that'll be a 5, and then you bring it back and synchro into a 6. It all depends on what synchros you can sort of make use of with this. Or you want a level dupe, so that either when it's on the field the first time, you can go into a high level, and then bring it back and go even into a higher level. Because the high level synchros are sort of where it's at, I think. And lastly, Spore. It was already in the game, I'm sure you're aware, but it's been reprinted for this box. It's a really nice tuner. If this card is in your graveyard, remove and play one other plant type monster from your graveyard, special summon this card. Unlike with the Jet Synchron effect, it's not going minus in your hand, it's just banishing from the grave. And you increase its level by the level of the monster you remove from play to activate its effect. So that's sort of where you can dictate, I want to go into this synchro, so I need to banish this level, and yada da da da. Spore is a very good card, and it's nice it's been reprinted, and it's going to be more accessible for more players. So let's go to a card that a lot of people are super excited for, and I'm a little bit scared of. It's been said already, I'm sure, but Invoked Purgatrio. This card gains 200 attack and defense for each monster your opponent controls. Invoked Purgatrio. This card gains 200 attack for each card your opponent controls. That's not each monster, that's each card, so it could gain 1,000 attack, 2 back row, 3 monsters, 2 monsters, 3 back row. Could be 1,000 attack boost, so 3,300. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. That's kind of crazy. If they have, it can clear your board easily, and it inflicts piercing damage. So that's kind of scary and can lead to some OTKs. It depends on how many monsters they have on the board, obviously. If they only have one, it probably wouldn't be. But let's have a look at what you can use as that fire monster to go into Purgatrio. Now, I had a look around, and it's kind of, I tried to pick not just random fire monsters, but things that would actually see play. Invoked tends to be mixed quite commonly with the Magician Girls already, especially with Chocolate, so I don't think it'd be the end of the world to just slip in Apple Magician Girl, have that fire that you can go into to make the Purgatrio. maybe your deck just decides to run Lava Golem, maybe in more copies, because you can more than confidently, if it's a dead card in your hand, and you know that you won't need it in the matchup, you can just use it as a fire attribute monster, go into Purgatrio. And Lava Golem is very good in this meta for dealing with Invoked, for dealing with, maybe Dark Lords, for dealing with cards like that. Now, this third one isn't played. I will just straight up admit that it isn't played. But I did recently have the idea to mix Glad Beasts and Invoked. So I had a bit of a brain fart there. Glad Beasts and Invoked, because much like the Magician Girls, Glad Beasts are just another archetype that has a lot of synergy with itself, but it's an archetype that has many different attributes in it, right? And you could argue that sort of monster effects are sort of dead in this meta, but you wouldn't really be using the Glad Beasts themselves for their effects all that often. It would be a bonus when you did get those effects off, but it's not super necessary. You're mainly just running the attributes and having something there. It's pretty much, it's filling the exact same role as Magician Girls. It's being there as a supporting archetype for the Invoked, supplying whatever attributes you need at the time, and having some plays other than Invoked, but the main strategy still being Invoked. And I think in some scenarios with the right list, it could even be better than Magician Girls. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that the Magician Girls are still going to be better than Glad Beasts, or you think Glad Beasts have a chance to compete with the Magician Girls as this archetype with many attributes to support the Invoked. And obviously I included the Concentrating Current here because this card with Concentrating Current is scary. It attacks anything once each. Concentrating Current, a Lester boost, monsters on the field. It'll lose attack as it clears monsters, but a Lester boost brings it to 33. Concentrating Current, it obviously goes to huge numbers. It deals piercing. It can attack all the monsters. Back row is going to be so important. Back row is going to be absolutely crucial. And even with back row, even if you Wall of D this thing, that's only 800 attack. That's not going to cut it. So, super scary. But it all depends on will they be able to most effectively use or find some really good fire attribute monsters to use for the Purgatrio. And lastly, a little bit of a joke, Mystic Lamp. We got Mystic Lamp, so if you want to ever feel like doing this, your Mystic Lamp, play your Mage Power and Axe of Fools, so you got 2 in your Spell and Trap card zone. So now you need to activate your Concentrating Current before you equip the 3rd Axe of Fools, and that's an easy OTK right there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was quite quicker, I would say, than my first video, but it was just mainly because they're all sort of bits and pieces cards, It's quite quick to go over them. But there's a lot of good cards here. I don't think there's anything super generic. Invoked, it's an archetype support card. Some of the Synchros are definitely generic. I don't want to discount them, but Inzektors, if Inzektors don't see play, then it's not worth investing in. Monarch is very specific, and even with Robe, it probably won't be meta. So I almost think that if you Invoked is super meta, so I think it's worth going to the box for the Purgatrio for sure. And I think that these 2 Synchros are definitely worth going for just to pick up and have in your back pocket. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.